Joshua, you have to go right here.
Washu. So
we can go any
yeah, we're going around. No. Okay, ready? Perfect. That's your seat, Penny. And
No, Samuel doesn't sit there. Right here. Joshua's right there.
okay, Joshua, you're there, and Samuel, you're one next.
But can you?
And that'll be me and Ashley's seat, right?
I thought you sit on any seat.
Okay. That's perfect.
No, we still need one more seat.
Good job. Well, oh, we have another chair there. We'll get that chair. Perfect.
Sit next to me. No, sit next to me right here. No, you sit next to me.
This is a good spot.
Good morning.
Okay, so
Next time.
since Ashley and I weren't here last week, you're going to have to share with us a little bit about the lesson. So,
Loving your siblings. Loving your siblings.
loving your
But
siblings.
why always say it in a
So,
different way? I wish I sit in that
last
box.
week,
Yeah,
last-
too bad.
last week you learned about
Too
loving.
bad, Josh.
Okay, well, everybody listen carefully. Because we have a very special lesson for you today. So,
What is it about?
remember, you'll find out. Remember, when you hear the teachers talking, you should make sure you're carefully listening. What does that mean? That means you shouldn't be talking. Okay, you should be carefully listening because I might ask you something and you might have to tell me what I just said. So, last week you learned about loving your siblings. Because God is love, we also can love our siblings, right? And I heard that you heard a very special story about someone who took care of their sibling, of their brother. Joshua, can you tell me about that?
Hey, yeah, you
If Joshua's talking, you should also be listening.
That's
Just in like
sweet.
one sentence.
We saw a picture of that brother. He couldn't move. He had to sit in a wheelchair, but his other brother loved him and also loved God.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So this week we're going to learn something about
You're just a boy, Joshua.
that God is love. Because God is love, because God is love, He cares for us. He shows how does He show His love to us? Because we could know God is love, but how does He show His love to us? He shows His love to us by caring for us. And so we also should be loving and caring to others. So I want everybody to fold your hands for a minute and close your eyes and think about this question, okay? Everybody close your eyes. I'm going to close my eyes too. Okay. How old do you have to be to care for somebody else? Don't say anything, just think about it. How old do you have to be to care for somebody? Don't say anything. Okay, now we're going to go around. I'm going to start with Finney. We're going to go around in a circle, and you're going to tell me how old you think you have to be to care for somebody. How old?
10.
10? How old? 1? 3? Okay. Carissa, what do you think?
Any age.
Any age. All right. And Joshua?
I think 20.
20? What do you think, Samuel?
6.
6. Okay, well, Ashley's going to tell us a very special story about caring. So listen carefully. And she has a really cool picture to show you.
Yep. And this is another true story.
So I'm going to come over here, Ashley.
Yeah. Just like the boy with his brother who couldn't move,
We'll switch seats.
this is another story of siblings. So, in a way, kind of continuing last week's message. So this is a story of 2 twins. And twins, I'm sure everybody knows, grow together,
girl
right?
Girl twins or boy twins?
They were girl twins. Well,
Last time
you can
boys.
pretend they were boy twins, but they were girls. And their names were Brielle and Kiri. And they were born a few
Did
years ago.
Curie kill people?
I have this device too.
No. Okay, so Brielle and Kiri were born, and they were premature. Does anybody know what premature means?
What does mature mean?
Not very mature for their age.
I don't
It means they were born too early. So that's right. They were born too early. They were very small. In fact, you could probably hold one of them in your hand. They were so small. Can you imagine that? A tiny little baby in your hand. It's pretty
She's
small.
probably like. When was she born?
I don't know when. This was a few years ago.
Probably in the 1800s.
No, actually, it wasn't too long ago, and I'll explain why. So they were born, and they were very small, and because they were so small, they were premature, they had to be cared for in a very special unit of the hospital, and it's called the NICU. And basically what it is it's a incubator. You know what an incubator is?
Yes.
You know what an incubator is?
Like an incubator for baby eggs.
For eggs, exactly. It's almost like these little babies were so small and so precious that they were treated like eggs. So they were put in, each of them was put in her own incubator. I'm going to put this right over here.
An incubator's
I have
hot.
that device too.
You do?
Yeah.
So-
Incubator's hot.
Yeah, it's hot, it keeps them warm, it takes care of them. So, Brielle and Kiri each had their own incubator. And Brielle was a little bit smaller than Kiri, and she was a little bit weaker than Kiri. So, there came a day when the nurse was caring for these little infants, and Brielle got really upset, and she started fussing and crying. And because she's a baby and she can't talk, the nurse couldn't ask her what was wrong. And she tried to help her, she tried to feed her, she tried to do all sorts of things, and Brielle was still upset. So finally, she thought, well, maybe I'll put Brielle with her sister Kiri and see what happens. So she took Brielle out of her personal incubator and put her into Kiri's incubator, and who can guess what might have happened?
She stopped crying.
Yeah, but why?
Because they were together.
Because they were together. And how do you think Kiri might have helped Brielle?
Because she was her sister.
She was her sister. And do you know what she did? This tiny little baby who you could hold in her hand, who can't speak, can't do a whole lot because she's brand new. She actually put her arm around her sister. She hugged her. Isn't that amazing? So,
Oh man.
and after that, Brielle not only Brielle not only stopped fussing, but her health got better. She calmed down, she started breathing regularly, and then she started gaining weight, which is what babies are supposed to do, of course, because once we're born, we grow. So, in answer to our question of how old you have to be, maybe we can all reconsider that now. I liked Carissa's
0.
answer. 0?
Yeah.
No, I was about to say 0.
Mhm.
I really
You
said
can be
0.
small enough to fit in a hand and still care for someone else.
No, how about 1 second or
1 second?
or 1 second.
Or I'll give you this, even before you're born. I'll bet those sisters hugged each other and cared for each other when they were still in their mommy's belly. So.
How?
How?
Because it usually takes
Because they have to grow ears, arms.
Do you guys want to see a picture?
Yes.
Watch this.
What? It's not me.
Abracadabra.
So listen carefully.
They're like 5 or 6 now.
As Ashley's getting the picture, look at that. So
Can everyone see?
that hug rescued her sister. It saved the baby's life. She saved her sister's life just by giving her a little hug. Because that hug was the way that she cared for her sister. Look at that.
Whoa.
Cool, huh?
Whoa.
Wow. Did you see it, Penny?
I thought they were tiny.
Really
Like just
weird.
this tiny. Can they speak now? I thought it was
So-
just like this tiny.
They're really tiny. Well, that picture is zoomed in, so it looks bigger, but they're really, really tiny. So
How do all of this tiny? Is that like
I don't
this
know.
tiny?
it's in your hand. They can fit in your hand. So you're not too young to care for others. You're not too young to care for others. So
I can't care for my sister.
we can care for all kinds of people and all kinds of things.
Can you care when I can't care years old?
So I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes again. close your eyes and fold your hands and think about this question. Okay? Everybody close their eyes and fold their hands and think about this question. Think about a time, and I'm going to give you about a minute to think about it. Think about a time that you cared for someone. It doesn't have to be like just hugging them, but that's one way we can care for others. Maybe you helped clean up, or maybe you asked a friend to play on the playgrounds. Maybe you shared a toy. Maybe you told someone something nice. Think about a time. Close your eyes, think about a time. And try to see it. If maybe you want to tell us about it when everybody has their eyes open. You don't have to, but think about a time when you cared for someone. Think about a time when you cared for someone. So, we can open our eyes now, and if you want to share, you can share, and if you don't, you could just say pass. Okay, so Chris, you want to start?
Pass.
Joshua.
That one time when my little sister was mad, I decided to do something nice for her. I made her tried to make some old things from some old yarn we don't use, and made a doll, and that made my sister happy again.
That's really nice, Joshua. Samuel,
Pass.
Pass. Finny. Oh yeah.
I'll share a story of my roommate and my friend. Her name's Valerie. How she cared for me. I was coming home from work and I was really tired, and so she made dinner for me. And when I got home, it was ready, and I ate it. It was really delicious. And I think it was even yummier because she made it for me. Your turn.
Pass.
Asher?
Pass.
Pass. Okay, we'll all share a story.
Pass.
And I'm gonna share.
Only the one.
I'll share a story about when actually somebody also cared for me, and this person.
It got us into Disneyland.
Oh, so that's when someone cared for you, right?
Oh yeah.
My brother, right?
Yeah.
And how did you care for him, Finny?
Who's your brother?
Basketball. No, I gave it a letter.
You gave him a letter. You guys wrote a letter, so that is you have cared for someone. See, you wrote a letter to my brother to say thank you. Now,
Look, a camera.
and
That's my dad's camera.
Security!
So one time I was at school because you guys know that I'm a teacher, right? And one of my students decided to stay after class and help me clean up, and I didn't ask her at all. She just asked me if I needed help cleaning up, and she really cared for me because I needed a lot of help that day. And it really touched my heart because she did it because she wanted to and not because I asked her to. And so when we care for others, it doesn't, like the twins, they were the same age, they cared for each other the same. But
Who was born first?
it could be, I don't know, it could be, we could care for people who are older than us, and people that are younger than us, and people that are the same age as us. So can you think of some ways that you can care for people? Like you already mentioned a few. Can anyone think of anything else? Finny, can you think of another thing? Or Joshua or Samuel? How we can care for others?
I sometimes invite my friend to come over to my house.
Inviting your friend over. How many people have ever had a new kid in their class? Raise your hand if you have. And
There's like a Chinese
sometimes does no,
that was born in China and he doesn't know English.
he doesn't know English. So maybe how could you care for him, Finny? How could you care for us? Have you ever thought this before? You don't have to answer. But have you ever seen someone, maybe they're hurt or maybe they're sad, and you say, I don't care?
No,
you don't need to
that's
answer.
not totally.
That's being mean, right? So we should always care for
That's
people.
being funny.
Stop.
That's not funny. But what if he steals stuff from your mouth? And if anyone
that's
doesn't care for
different.
other people,
That's different.
I'm gonna tell them.
Here's what I want you to do right now.
have
Okay,
to be
you're gonna close your eyes
careful.
one more time.
Not
Okay,
saying
everybody
that
close your eyes. You can put your head down if you want. And I want you to think of one way that you
Okay, your
could,
eyes are open.
you think of one way that you could care for someone this week. Think of one way that you can care for someone this week. And-
I already know one.
okay, just quietly think of one way that you can care for someone this week.
This way.
So, okay, so here's your memory verse, and we're going to read it together. And don't forget that way. Don't forget what you just thought about. Okay,
And
maybe
the
you want to write it down. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. And the Lord cause you to increase and abound in love toward one another and to all, just as we also to you. It's 1 Thessalonians 3:12. Let's read it one more time. And the Lord cause you to increase and abound in love toward one another and to all, just as we also to you. So there's a phrase in here. Let's read where it says
Who wrote this?
the Bible.
No.
Oh, I typed
down.
it. I typed it. Okay.
Have you copied?
How come it's red?
Oh, because my printer's out of black ink. So, let's read this phrase. It says, abound in love toward one another. Where it starts with abound. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Abound in love toward one another. So the way that we abound in love, just like the Lord God loves us, is we care for people. He loves us and cares for us. So we can love others by caring for them.
Really?
Okay,
Let's care about
So-
ice skating.
so everybody, think one more time of what you thought of, how you're going to care for someone this week. Okay, everyone have your thought of how you're going to care for someone this week?
I'm picking up
Because
those signals.
maybe you're going to write it down on your craft. You don't have to, but you can write it down. So we're going to go outside to do the craft today. So-
Outside.
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 So
I'm outside.
what you're going to do is, you can leave your verse here.
Spring! Yeah!
And-
Spring!
When When we go outside, again, we have to go out very quietly. Don't go out yet, Finny. Don't go out yet. And
I'm just kidding. It's not
We're going out to the road?
we're going to tell you what we're going to do.
Let's go out and play.
Stand up, please. Ashley is going to tell you what we're going to do when we go outside, so you know what we're going to do, okay?
I know what we're gonna do.
So, does anybody
We're gonna do a banner.
Are we going
remember?
to say gun and shot?
Listen to Ashley.
Hey everyone.
Listen to Ashley.
So, how did little baby Kiri care for her sister Brielle?
Hug.
Hug. So, we're gonna make a hug. You
Hug.
might wonder how we're gonna make a hug.
how we're gonna do that. I hate
we can just bring the markers
hugs.
out to start.
I hate hugs. I hate
Well,
hugs.
sometimes a hug could really make someone feel better, Joshua. Okay, shh.